Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday, May 19th, North Middlesex Council meeting. It is 5:45, so we will call this meeting to order. At the beginning of this meeting, I just want to remind council and staff that according to the rules of Zoom meetings and electronic meetings, we still must maintain the decorum and the protocol of our council meetings, whether we're at home or whether we're at the council. So having said that, I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, we're just waiting for Councillor Nicol and Councillor Moyer to join us yet. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest, please send them in writing to our clerk. We do have to go into court of revision, and that is for, I believe it is East Williams Township. So it's myself, Deputy Mayor Cornelison, and Councillor Keogh. And this is for the overview of the engineer's report. And this is Joanne. Joan, are you doing this?
Doing it on her behalf.
John Lamb is going to do this. Okay, and this is, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Members of the court, what you have in front of you is the court of revision for the Coosterman's Drain Branch A, E, and F. The recommendation is that the Court of Revision confirm the assessment schedules as detailed in R. Dobbin Engineers Report dated March 31st, 2021, and that a motion be passed to accept the assessments. There's been no appeals on the drain, no questions or concerns. If the court has any questions, I'm here to answer them. If not, you have a recommendation in front of you.
Any questions from the members of the court?
No, none.
No questions. We have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councillor Keogh, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cornelison. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. At this time, we need a motion to go out of Committee of Adjustment and to go to regular meeting. Councillor Keogh, Deputy Mayor Cornelison, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we do have Councillor Nicol has joined us. We're just waiting for Councillor Moyer yet to join. Minutes of the previous meeting, May 5th, 2021, the regular meeting. Any questions or business arising on the minutes? Seeing none, we do have the minutes in front of us. We need someone to move the minutes. Councillor Keogh and Councillor Hemming, all in favor? Carried. We have a public meeting, but that is set for 6 o'clock. We have a short break, I believe, to allow people to come in. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, I will.
We do just have to take a short break. I'll remind people just to mute your microphones while we're on break. Okay, welcome everybody back. We can get started, I believe.
Oh,
We are,
actually, yeah, Mayor Rob, we're just waiting for the two participants.
right, I see that we're just waiting for our members to come in for the CIP update. Are they there, Mike, or are we just?
They are not here presently. I just sent an email just to say we're ready to go. He did indicate that they would be here at 6, so we'll see. There's no attendees at this point in time either.
Okay, we can go on to one departmental report to wait while we wait for them.
We can, sure. I don't think we'll want that first one because Mike's on the looking at the background there for the
Okay, Jesse just got in, so.
Jesse got in, okay.
Yep.
No, we're okay. Technology is great until it doesn't work right. All right.
Learning that today, yes.
Yes, it is 6 o'clock and we do have a draft community improvement plan and it's a draft CIP plan update. And Mike, I'll let you do introductions. This has been your efforts and your work, so.
Through your worship,
Go ahead.
Mike is actually from Douglas Valley here for the fire hall presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Oh, good. That's a good thing.
Put back into the waiting room and Jesse can take the lead on that.
Okay, but Jesse's here, I see. So Mike, if you would like to get that when we get that straightened out.
No problem. So we are presenting the community improvement plan tonight, public meeting. We did have a virtual meeting last Wednesday, an open house. Basically, community improvement plan is a suite of tools that the municipality can use to target economic development in the community. So we have gone through a survey, a couple workshops, and the open house, and we are now at this point, but I will leave it to Jesse McPhail and Paul Hicks of Reason Public Urbanism to give the presentation.
Great, thanks, Mike.
So Jesse, I just gave you co-host ability to share your screen.
Perfect. So I'll throw that up here. Everybody can see that okay?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Hicks. I'm with Republic Urbanism, as Mike had mentioned, and I'm joined with me by Jesse McPhail. We are going to go through a brief slide deck with you. For those that were in attendance during the open house, this is quite a similar slide deck. So we'll try to keep the presentation as brief as possible so it's not too repetitive. In terms of agenda, we are going to talk a little bit about the project, the background work that was undertaken, what the CIP overview looks like, and then a little bit about the next steps, because we are very close to the end of this project at this time. So again, for those that weren't in attendance at the open house the other week, what is Innovate North? Well, Innovate North is the branding that was given to this community improvement plan project, which is being undertaken by the municipality of North Middlesex. For those who are not familiar with what a community plan, a community improvement plan is, or a CIP is, it's a plan It's a statutory plan under the Ontario Planning Act that allows municipalities or encourages municipalities to, it's a plan that's used by municipalities to encourage physical improvements to lands and buildings in specific areas of a community, usually by offering financial incentives to property owners. So the main goal with the creation of the Innovate North CIP is to create a tool that will assist with economic development and municipal improvement projects across the entire municipality of North Middlesex. Next slide. A little bit about the timeline. The project began back in September of 2020, where we undertook a background analysis throughout the fall of September, October, and November. We conducted a public survey and a workshop during that time as well, too, to get a better understanding of the needs and wants of the municipality. And in through November, December, January, and February, we undertook the actual drafting of the community improvement plan itself. We held another workshop with the municipality. And then in February, we finalized a draft of the CIP and submitted that to the municipality for review. So going through March, April, and May, we're going through the approval process, which is a statutory process under the Planning Act. So we're meeting a number of statutory requirements that are outlined in the legislation. One of the first of those requirements was actually a circulation to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and a number of other statutory bodies to provide feedback and comment on the plan. And then subsequently, we held an open house with the public the other week. Again, a statutory requirement of the Planning Act to allow members of the public to learn more about the project and to also comment and provide input into the project. And this evening, we're at the statutory public open house, public meeting. And this is one of the final steps before the adoption of the plan. So go to the next slide.
So I can take it from here, Paul.
Thanks, Jesse.
So in terms of the actual work that went into developing the background of the CIP itself, I'll just give a brief overview of that before we get into the plan itself. So a lot of background work went into developing the draft plan. So this is usually a first step in providing sort of a lay of the land for the community and finding out what we want to focus on with the community improvement plan. So this background report that was prepared in the fall involved an overview of policy, a community assessment. So you can see one of the maps that was prepared, just looking at some of the opportunities and constraints that exist in the community. There was a stakeholder consultation, as Paul had mentioned. And through this backgrounding exercise, a number of emerging themes and priorities and recommendations came out of that report, and it ultimately helped guide the development of the plan. So as mentioned, it was a very crucial step that was undertaken, and this background report, for anybody interested, is available from the municipality if you wanted to take a deeper dive into those findings. In terms of the community priorities, these were developed through the background report as well as the stakeholder workshops and public online survey. So just to give a quick taste of some of the priorities that came out during this backgrounding exercise, was evolution of the community. You know, as North Middlesex continues to grow, how do we evolve but maintain the current identity that we have? Supporting more available and affordable housing. And another one that came up often was more support for rural opportunities for economic development. So your on-farm diversified type uses, your home-based businesses that are kind of related to agricultural operations, which are such a backbone and foundation of the economy. So in terms of the growing opportunity itself, yes, Innovate North, sorry. An overview of the plan itself, Innovate North, there are 7 financial incentive programs and 4 municipal leadership initiatives that are contained in this plan. So together, these are both intended to encourage and support community improvement over the next 10 years. So this 10 years is the planning horizon over which the plan will be implemented. So the entirety of North Middlesex is designated as what's called a community improvement project area, and this is where the plan applies. So that's to say, CIPs a couple of years ago used to be just focused on downtown areas or specific areas of a municipality. This CIP is actually focused throughout the municipality to allow for those incentives and programming to be available to a wider audience and a wider proponent base. So just as a note, for the financial incentive programs and municipal leadership initiatives that I will go through, it's important to note that municipal council will have full discretion as to which incentive programs to offer or activate from year to year, and which leadership initiatives to pursue. So from one year to the next, there may be different financial incentives offered, and there may be different municipal leadership initiatives undertaken based on budget, priorities, and the like. So in terms of, I'll give a very quick overview of the financial incentive programs that could be offered under this plan. So the first is a beautification program. This would offer a matching grant, so up to 50% of the costs associated with a beautification project. So this would be anything to do with sort of the outside of a commercial building or a non-residential building or a place of business to improve sort of the look and feel and the character of the building. So a new sign, lighting, that sort of thing. The Rural Economic Development Program. This would offer two different streams here. The first would be a matching grant of up to $8,000 for improvements to a rural commercial use or a rural on-farm or agricultural related use. So these are, your butcher shops or your home brews or, your you-pick berry farms, those sorts of things, if they wanted to undertake some improvements. The other side of this program is the interest-free loan. So this is one of the 2 programs that offer a loan for these projects. So instead of a matching grant, applicants could have the opportunity to apply for an interest-free loan upfront of up to $20,000 to help them carry out that project. The third is a conversion, expansion, and redevelopment program. This would offer a matching grant of up to $12,500, depending on the costs associated with the project. And this would be having to do with, whereas the beautification program is the outside of the building, sort of the look and the character and the feel. This has to do with more with the bones of the building, the inside of it. So if you're looking at establishing, a commercial business or another employment type use within a building, or expanding it or adding to the building structure itself, this program may be something that could help you out there. The fourth program that would be available is the Additional Residential Unit Program. So again, this would be a matching grant of up to $9,000, and this would assist property owners with the installation of a secondary unit. So these are sometimes known as secondary suites, basement suites, garden suites. So in an effort to help increase the diversity and affordability of different housing types in the municipality, this grant would be available to help offset the costs that are associated with that. And the final three that we have under the CIP is the accessibility program. So again, this is a matching grant of up to $8,000 that can help businesses and property owners improve accessibility on their site or building. So this would be the installation of wheelchair ramps or retrofitting of bathrooms to make sure it's accessible for everyone. There's the brownfield study program, and so a brownfield, for those who aren't familiar with the terminology, a brownfield is typically what you would call a former industrial or heavy commercial site where there may be a chance of contamination on the site or a danger if someone was to use it as a park or a residence or another use that involves people, and there may be a hazard there due to that contamination. So what this program would do is it would help out with the costs associated with the studies required to evaluate those sites and make sure that they're good for development before going ahead with it. So there's two kind of sides to this. The first is a $3,000 matching grant for a phase 1 environmental site assessment. And because this is the cheaper of the two, the second one is a matching grant of up to $10,000 for a phase 2, which usually involves a lot more reclamation costs and a lot more upfront costs in terms of investigating a site. And the last program that we have is the Affordable Rental Housing Unit program. So similar to the secondary unit program, this is a matching grant of up to $12,500 to help out with the creation of affordable rental housing in the community. So now this money here is available on a per unit basis. So this could add up. And in terms of the other offering under this program is a relief from development charges. So the municipality could potentially offer up to 80% relief from development charges for new affordable housing development. Obviously, with something like this, it's important to note that an agreement would outline the requirement for units to remain affordable for a minimum number of years to make sure that they're not developed, money issued, and then sold or rented at market rate. So it's really intending to ensure that those units stay affordable for their lifetime. So now to just flip a little bit to the municipal side of things. So whereas the financial incentives are geared more towards the private side of things, business owners, property owners, and the like, the municipal leadership initiatives are undertakings that North Middlesex can lead by example with and really complement those financial incentives and those private projects. So these are geared more to the public realm and public areas. So the first municipal leadership initiative is a streetscape improvement strategy. So this would be something that would take a look at developing policies or a plan to really assist with identifying specific projects in the community along main streets or main roads or corridors, typically in commercial areas, where things can be beautified or improved. So things that can be improved, such as like safety, crossings, pedestrian amenities, those sorts of things. So this could involve actual projects, or it could involve a separate plan to identify those things. The second municipal leadership initiative is the preparation of municipal design guidelines. So these design guidelines would ultimately be intended to complement the beautification projects that this plan is looking to support. So North Middlesex could contemplate creating these guidelines to help make sure that the character of their downtown areas and the new development that's coming in follows a certain aesthetic and is respectful of the existing built heritage and character, while allowing for some wiggle room and massage room for those newer developments that could be tasteful or fall in with the same categories as those older buildings. So ultimately, with something like these, they would need to be developed with the community, with the development community, and the general public to make sure that there was a nice balance between requirement and guidelines. So finding that happy medium. The third initiative is a wayfinding improvement strategy and policies. So when I say wayfinding, this has to do with signage, navigating throughout the community, landmarks, those sorts of things that really help both locals and tourists alike find destinations in the community. And it makes just an more enjoyable experience when traversing the community. So this could be things like welcome signs to the community. This could be trails that are marked in a fun way, either on the ground or with some fun signage. But also some of the more boring stuff, like making sure signage is consistent for different things. So this type of strategy or policies would look at sort of helping to connect the community in that way. And lastly, the last municipal leadership initiative that's recommended in the plan is the development of a parks, recreation, and trails master plan. So the municipality currently doesn't have a master plan to deal with parks and recreation. And what we heard through the backgrounding exercise for the development of this plan was that the community was very interested in creating those connections, whether it be multi-use trails or improved recreation connections to, whether it be in the downtown areas or out in the rural area, just helping to plan for more recreational opportunities. And something like this would be, timely, given how much time we're looking to spend outside these days. So this is a plan that the municipality could undertake to really tie in community improvement with a broader recreation focus as well. So just as a quick note, again, for the municipal leadership initiatives, these aren't as much of a to-do list or things that the municipality are going to do under the plan. These are more intended to inspire action. So these are items that municipal council is going to have to evaluate from year to year and prioritize which ones that they'd be looking to pursue, depending on budget, resources, priorities, and the community feedback. So those are sort of the 7 financial incentive programs and the 4 municipal leadership initiatives really make up the meat and potatoes of the community improvement plan. There are other things like policies and eligibility guidelines and all that. And I'd invite anybody who's interested to actually take a look at the document. And there's quite a bit of information in there if you're interested. In terms of next steps, so Paul had mentioned that we are sort of at the finish line tonight. We are sort of nearing the end of the process. So I will note that following this public meeting, there was an open house the other week. Council will consider any and all feedback that's received or submitted to date, and they will decide on whether to adopt the plan or adopt it with revisions. So further to that, the adoption of the community improvement plan will be by way of bylaw. So if municipal council does adopt the community improvement plan, an adopting bylaw will be passed. Further to that, so Paul had mentioned earlier that this process is subject to the statutory requirements of the Planning Act. So Section 17 of the Planning Act is the process which outlines what we get to follow. So council's decision may be appealed under Section 17 of the Planning Act. That being said, if no appeal is received following a decision, the plan will be officially adopted and ready for implementation by the municipality. So what I'll do is I'll thank everybody on behalf of Republic Urbanism. We've had a blast preparing this plan for North Middlesex, and it's just been a great process, really smooth process for us. You guys have been great, and we really think that you've got a good document here, that a good tool that's going to help support some great projects in the community. One last little thing that I will note before I turn it back over to the chair is that in terms of feedback and submissions, it is important to note, because this is a public meeting, that if you do not make oral or written submissions to the municipality respecting this plan before a decision is made to adopt or approve it, your eligibility to appeal or be a party to an appeal of this plan may be affected. So you may not be able to if you don't make a submission. So that's just an important thing that we need to note. But other than that, I will pass it back to the chair, and happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you, Jesse. We can get that down, that slide. Right now, I'd ask if there's any comments from public.
So what I'll do through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to add in, we have Jackie Daniels, Marion Robinson, and Sheree Sarachman, and I'm going to add them in.
Okay.
So they are added in.
Okay, and at this time, I would ask if there's any questions from anyone on public, from Jackie, Marion, or from Sherry. If you are, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know. Okay, I just want to give a fair chance. That's why I know with electronic, there's a hesitation sometimes or a delay. So hearing none, I will ask council. Council comments, questions? Councillor McClinchy, go ahead. You're muted, Doreen.
Sorry about that. For the different grants, there's there's 7 of them. So is council to pick out one of them each year, or could they divide it up? Like some business owners may want a beautification program where a conversion expansion internally in a business place. Could they apply for either one of them, or we have to choose only one of those to put in our budget?
Okay, who would like to answer that?
I could take that, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Good question. Yeah, so the way that the CIP is set up is it's flexible for the municipality to decide how they want to administer it. In terms of combining the grants themselves, there are specific eligibility requirements within each of the grant programs, and within those, unless it states specifically that it can't be combined with another program, like there are ones that would potentially allow for double dipping, but there's eligibility requirements that prevent that. So what you could do is have someone apply for the beautification grant, and if they are doing some internal work that would be eligible under the expansion and redevelopment, they could apply for funding under both of those streams, if they meet the requirements to do so.
What I was getting at, though, I may be talking about 4 different businesses, and each one of those businesses would have a different interest. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the one business trying to apply for 2 of them. I just want to know if they can have a choice of what program they can be eligible for. One business.
Okay, I understand. So it's again, it's up to the municipality from year to year which ones you want to activate. So North Middlesex could offer all 7 at once. Maybe a little bit much to take on for the first year, but typically what you'll see is depending on how you want to roll it out, council will with staff will determine which ones they want to offer from year to year. So it could be a selection of programs.
In the past, it seemed like we were always with beautification programs, but they're offering different ones here, which may be more interest to some of these business owners, like conversion expansion, like additional residential units, and so forth, and affordable rental housing. So those are some of the programs that were not that I know of, were offered in the past. So I was just wondering if the municipality was able to do that, or we have to pick one out. So.
Nope. So you can change them from year to year, which ones you want to offer. And a lot of times what we'll see too is that, like, a lot of times the beautification grant, that's one that's been around for 15, 20 years. And a lot of times you'll see that program has actually saturated the market. Like, so many people have tapped into that there's no more signs that we can improve. There's no more bricks we can repoint, right? So what you can do is once the interest is kind of waned on certain programs, or council seeing that there's not enough interest in them, you can swap them out for other ones that there may be more interest for. So it's flexible in that way.
And when will this start? For when would Mike, you answer
through the mayor to Councillor McClinchy. I will likely bring up a report forward after this point, just to outline what programs we will proceed with this year. I assume that we will proceed definitely with the beautification one. That's almost like the existing facade one. So we do want to keep that going, but I will bring a report forward, Doreen, and talk about the process of approving these applications as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from council? No other questions or comments from council at this time? Okay, at this time, I think we have to close the public portion of this meeting, correct?
Yes.
We have to have a motion to go out of public meeting. Councillor Nicol, Councillor McClinchy, all in favor?
Mhm.
Carried. And we do have a recommendation in front of us, and that is to either accept it as presented or to defer it in order to consider public feedback or any recommended amendments. So council, what's your wish? I'm hearing crickets. Councillor Nicol, are you
I would
moving
make a motion to defer.
to defer?
Until, yes.
For what reasons? Like,
Just so that we can get some more information, figure out what we'd be interested in doing this year.
okay, if I can just comment to that, I think we have to actually have the CIP in place to be able to do that. So I think that's a separate process after the CIP, correct? Is that not, I'm looking for.
Yes.
Yes, I'm hearing that from Paul nodding his head as well. And I think, so to decide what we're going to do with it, I think is up to council after staff does the report. I think that can happen at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer? Okay, so are you making a motion to accept the CIP to?
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept it.
Okay, all right. Moved by Councillor Nicol, seconder, Councillor McClinchy. Any more discussion on it? All in favor? All in favor? Carried, thank you. And then thank you very much, Paul and Jesse. Thank you very much for your time and your efforts. It was appreciated.
Thank you, council. Yeah, it was to echo Jesse's comments. We really enjoyed working with Mike and staff and council. So it was a really wonderful experience for us, and we're always available to help out if there are any questions that come up afterwards and any assistance needed with implementation. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, on Councillor Nicol's point, Mike, as you said, you'll do a report from staff to talk about, what programs seem the best to bring to council.
Yes, Your Worship, to Councillor Nicol. Yes, we will, as mentioned, we'll provide a report with recommendations, what program and what budget we have for that this year. So I will move that forward, and each year we will bring a report about which programs to activate and budget requests. So it'll be at full discretion of council.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So at 6:30, I see we do have Dr. Olmsted here. And so, Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you to do the introductions, and welcome.
Okay, so long overdue. The matter before council right now is the acceptance of a lease. We've been working on the lease in the background for quite a while now. We think we have it hammered out. Essentially, the lease is for a 4-year term, very similar to the previous lease with Dr. Thorpe, but it does have a pretty easy renewal trigger in that regard. And basically, the municipality is responsible for the exterior of the building, the HVAC system, the water, any of the utilities, and Dr. Olmsted will be responsible for the interior works of the building. And so I just want to introduce Dr. Olmsted. Craig and I have worked together for probably about 6 months now trying to get this done. We obviously had a few bumps in the road, but I am more than happy to finally introduce Dr. Craig Olmsted. He'll be taking over the clinic officially starting June 1st. And I'll let Craig introduce some of the details about himself and leave it to him.
So hi everyone, thank you for having me this evening. I'm glad to finally meet everyone after having worked with Mike. Yes, we're coming up on, I don't know if it's fully 6 months, but it's been a while we've been hammering through this this process between Dr. Thorpe, as well as a few other groups in the area, especially some supports that we have coming from Strathroy and the folks in Elser Craig as well. So a little bit about myself. I finished my residency about almost 2 years ago now, working through Western. I am from London originally. I did my medical school at Western as well. I've been doing some odds and ends as well as some extra training, working with learners at the university over the last, again, about two years. And so this is my my start to practice officially. So I'm quite excited for that, especially now that we're 2 weeks away, not even from the switchover and from getting going. Other than that, I know that that Mike's fully aware, and John, who I know from through his wife, sorry, John Lampman, through his wife, know that I'm have a young family at home, and so my wife and my two daughters, my youngest of which is 4 months. So this whole process, Mike's been very good about working around the fact that I have a screaming child in my my ear half the time. And other than that, I think that's about it for me. So I'm happy to say hi and to, I guess turn it back over to Mike, but to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that the plan is for Dr. Olmsted. The priority is Dr. Thorpe's patients to begin with. Yep. He will be building out the patient base and accepting new patients in time. There is a website that's been created, and we're going to put out communications in that regard to point people towards signing up through the website. And in additional, I just want to put before council too that Dr. Thorpe has been great to work with through this process as well, and the community has been well served by Dr. Thorpe for over 35 years. So a lot of discussions about some of the history with Dr. Thorpe, and it's been very interesting. And you know, the generations, getting into 3 generations of people serving in the Park Hill and North Middlesex area. So we're greatly appreciative of his work and hope him well. And I do know that something is being organized, and we're going to put out communications in that regard, that they will have a drive-by on kind of his last day by the clinic on May 31st. So we're happy to proceed. And if there's any questions from council, we'll be gladly take them.
Questions, comments from council? Councillor McClinchy.
I would personally welcome Dr. Craig Olmsted to Park Hill. People are really excited about you being there. And I hope you don't mind, but I have told people that we are getting a new doctor, and he will be accepting new patients eventually. So that was an open up for you, because they said, where do we go? I said, well, I think hold on here, and Dr. Craig Olmsted will be accepting new patients. But so
Absolutely.
And I'm right next door to you, by the way.
Excellent. Which side, the liquor store side or the antique side?
Well, depends where I hang out most. Just on the north side.
So I'd love to take that opportunity to just expand on what I'm hoping to do in terms of recruiting new patients. So the agreement that Dr. Thorpe and I have kind of hammered out over this time period, and there's been some difficulty with it because we had a plan, the ministry said no, and we've had to readjust. So what I will be doing is taking over all of his patients to start off with, though there's going to be a transition period while we wait for the ministry to make their approvals. So essentially I'm working on his behalf until that approval goes through. Then the patients officially become mine, even though nothing really should change from the patient and the end of things. I can't officially accept new patients technically until the ministry stuff goes through, and that could be a couple months. That being said, I can still see patients in kind of a unofficial, I'm your doctor, but we still need to sign some paperwork in a couple months. Really, at any point, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of the patients in the practice first. So that's why I'm publicly saying I'm not accepting anyone until July. That being said, if we're not busy, which is kind of looking like we're going to have some extra space, that timeline might move up. So my hope is to be able to accept as many patients as I can as fast as possible within the confines of providing good care to those who are in the practice.
Good news. Good news.
Other comments, questions from council? Craig, I will add to that I've had the opportunity to meet with you a couple of times and to work with Mike a little bit on this. Mike's put in a lot of effort into this, working with you, and I want to congratulate Mike on that and thank him for all of your efforts, Mike. And also to you, Craig, as well, that you stuck with it and you're here, and we really welcome you. And at this time, we can't really talk about your connections to anything until it's approved by the ministry. Is that right?
So, I mean, essentially, we're waiting for the ministry to say yes. We're 99.99% sure the ministry is going to say yes. It just, they have a long process. I've kind of been through parts of it before, and I know it just takes forever. Dr. Thorpe's had some direct communications with the contact person there, and they've expressed confidence that this will go through. I can't imagine that it won't. And if it doesn't, I'm still intending on sticking around. And we're just going to fight the ministry if that happens to be the case, but I don't imagine it will be. So officially, when we're talking about connections, what I said to you at our first meeting is I don't throw anyone curveballs unless they throw me one, and I don't expect anyone's going to throw me one. So.
No, that's excellent news, and I look forward to when that's all done as well, because I know there's a lot of resources that you can tap into, and
Yep.
I've seen that in Elsa Craig with that clinic, and so I look forward to that. I think that'll be a great bonus for the people of Park Hill and surrounding area. So yeah, by all means, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. And to expand on that as well, I'm already working on some of those extra services, and those may be available before the government the provincial government sends in their acceptance. So that's already in the works. We're already working on that.
Oh, that's great news. Any other comments from council? No, we're just happy to have you here, Craig. Thank you very much for coming, taking the time tonight.
Thank you very much for having me and allowing me to speak. And again, thank you to Mike for all your work over these past couple months. I know I've put a lot on
you. Glad to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Olmsted. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time.
All right, I'll take off then.
So at 6:40, we have the presentation for the drawings for the new fire hall for the EMS project. And we do have our reps here now, correct? We're good to go with that? Excellent. And so Greg, where are you? There's Greg. Greg, you can make introductions and I'll let you start on this. This is, of course, your project along with the committees. The members, I should add, the members of the committee are Councillor Nickel, Councillor Moyer, and Councillor Keogh are on that committee, on the bill committee. But go ahead, Greg, start in.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of council, it's my pleasure to introduce John Valley and Michael Tier from G. Douglas Valley Limited, who will be presenting early conceptual drawings of our new fire and EMS station. I believe most of you have got, all of you should have paper copies of the concept design. So I'll turn it over to John Valley.
Thanks very much, Greg. Pleasure to be here, and members of council, thanks for welcoming us tonight. My name is John Valley. I'm the president here at Valley, and with me tonight is Michael Thier. There he is. Michael is one of our architects, and he will be in charge of working drawing production and construction documents and the construction process as well for your fire station. So we're happy to come tonight and present to you. What we have are basically what we would consider to be schematic drawings. These are just the preliminaries. There's a lot of work yet to be done before we get to a stage where we have actual drawings and designs and specs that would be ready to go for tender. So there's lots of work left to do with Greg and his department. And at this stage, we do have a cost estimate that you've seen. keeping in mind that we are really early in the design process, that the accuracy of that cost estimate is reflected there. So at this stage, it's a very rough estimate. The estimators don't have a lot of the details that they would need at this stage to provide accurate costing. So it just gives you sort of a flavor, a general concept of where we're at. But please don't take that as something that's a quote to hold somebody to, because we're just too early in the process to be able to deliver a really accurate estimate. Through the course of the project, before we get to tender, we will provide you with updates on the budget. And as we get closer and closer to tender, those estimates will get more and more accurate. So that hopefully by the time we provide you with the last one, that's a very good representation of what you'll actually receive for tender documents. The other challenge we have, of course, is with COVID and the impacts that is having on construction costs. As we all know, certain things, wood, steel. I even heard just late last week that water main pipe and fittings are now very scarce in Canada, and construction projects are actually being put on hold because they can't get water main parts, which is a real frustration for those of us in the municipal road business. So keep that all in mind. That at this stage, we're just presenting the initial concepts to you, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to do. It was interesting to hear the previous speaker when I logged in talking about your community improvement plan and the idea of streetscapes and the idea of trying to be architecturally sympathetic to those streetscapes with new buildings in your community. And I think that's what Michael and Mark and Melissa, our architects, have definitely tried to do that with your building, and to bring out some brick in the front of the building, try to be sympathetic to some of the architectural details that we see downtown with windows and arches and all those kinds of things. So I think we've tried to reflect that. And this does provide an opportunity for the municipality to use the words of your previous speaker, to lead by example, and to promote the kind of building in downtown that you're trying to encourage others to do through grants and so on. So I think this is a great opportunity for the municipality. But you don't want to hear from me. You want to hear from the architect. So I'm going to pass it over to Michael. He's got a bunch of drawings. We'll try to be short and then leave some time for questions at the end, okay? So Michael, carry it away.
Okay, great, thanks. Trying to share my screen here now. Where am I now? Oh, wrong one, hold on. I'll get it arranged. There we go. So can everyone see the site plan?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Great, very good. So this is our layout for the site so far. As you can see, well, it's nice to meet you all, first of all. The existing building is right here, and this is going to be demolished, but we're hoping to have it done prior to construction. So it consists of two masses for the building. One is the fire hall proper here, and the EMS in through here. So this roof, which is this area here, encompasses the EMS part of it, and this area here is the fire station part of it. In terms of access to the site, the exits from the fire station are obviously through here, and the EMS is out through here. And in the site, you'd come around here, you'd have your parking into these areas here, and the fire trucks would pull around and into the back of the station here through these doors in the back. These are obviously the front doors, and these are the back doors here. Same thing with the EMS, the ambulances, they'd come around, swing around here and in through here. There's some gravel treating area in the back here, and we've set a hydrant here for some more training area in the back. We've kept the back as open as we could. What's not indicated in this drawing is some fence. We're planning to fence around the site here to make it, less obtrusive to the neighbors and keep it away a bit from the property lines. Now let me find my thing here. Sorry, just give me a second here. I'll find my slides. There they are. Okay. So this is if you want any specific, if any questions with respect to dimensions, what have you, we have them here for you. We can take that during questions if you like. In regards to the floor area, I'll take you through a walk to the building. The main public entrance would be through here, if the public would be coming to the building also. So you come in through here to the foyer, the fire chief office, fire prevention office. These are all represented by this green coloring. The storage areas, again, in these darker green areas. This line here is a demarcation between the fire station area and the EMS area here. So two entrances with underneath a canopy here and here, one for the EMS, one for the fire station. This large area in through here. So if you come in through here into the corridor, you enter into the apparatus room area, which is where all the fire trucks are passing through, and a lot of the action happens. So, and this area here is the where only the washrooms are contained. The dirtier areas of the building are where they're cleaning up after they come back, where they're entering, getting dressed. And over that, we have, over this area, we have this mezzanine area here, which contains an office and some additional training space here with some tie downs, et cetera, and hatches that they can use for training as well, accessed through a stair at the back. So we have, we go back into the building here, we have washrooms again and a large training room in the back here. Supporting that training area is, so washrooms, kitchen, and those kind of spaces. Mechanical, electrical areas within the plans are relatively small, these two areas here. In the EMS area, it's obviously less extensive. We come in through the front underneath the canopy. We have the kitchen area, the report writing areas, small hallway to the ambulance storage bays. We have the lounge area and washrooms and change areas in through here, and a stock room which is off the apparatus area or the ambulance storage bay area. And that's pretty much the plans. Let me see here. We have some exterior perspectives here to have a look at. So this is looking at the corner by the EMS bays by the exit. So you can see we try to reflect the downtown areas with the more ornate cornices in some buildings through here. This is not the final design. This is a representation of what we're starting with. So you can tell we're trying to pay some attention to what's there now. And the front of the building is expected to be more of like a full-size brick. We have a stone or a architectural stone band running totally around the building with a bullnose masonry cap, but only the front is, we're trying to save some costs, only the front being brick, so the stone with the brick above, with stone with precast coping above the doors, these shapes here. Again, this is from looking at the fire station side of it. You can see all around the other sides, we're trying to be cost conscious using insulated metal panels in the elevations. So we're bracketing these sections of the building with the metal here. So you can see the front being this brick, and all the other elevations being this insulated metal panel. But we will try to maintain, as the budget allows, these cornices that run around the building, which are more ornate and give a sense of, reflect the history of the downtown more. And we understand the council's sensitivity towards flat roofs, so we try to minimize the flat roof area. These are all low slope metal roofs. This one drains this way, this one drains this way. This main shed over the apparatus bay drains to the other side. We have the small area here, which will be accessible for all the rooftop units, mechanical units, and it will provide a really good 2-ply mod bit roof to it, so it's easily accessible to maintain these units. And again, we're not using much of this roof space as a flat roof. So there's the front elevation in perspective. You can see the canopy in the front with the stone. More of a detailed look here. And again, back to us here where you can see what we're trying to maintain. Even though this is insulated metal panel roof, we still maintain that ornate cornice line above. So from the sides, it'll appear to be a bit more industrial looking per se, but we're trying to give some nods to the history of the town and what's there now. And that's in essence what we have. There's been some comment on the engineering of the building, if we should go perhaps with a pre-eng structure rather than a metal building per se. But what we've done is, let me just get back to the plan here. This entire area here is a pre-eng structure. It runs from here all the way over the mezzanine to here. So this entire half of the building is essentially a pre-eng structure. The smaller spaces here don't lend themselves necessarily to a pre-eng building. So we're going with typical commercial type of metal framing. We thought commercial metal approach to the building is probably a bit safer right now with COVID. We're hoping the prices are a bit more stable. We're not sure if they are, but the way the wood is going, especially with the countervailing duties potentially coming off and the additional demand from the states affecting wood prices, we're more comfortable with the metal. So that's the way we're going with it. And so that's where we are right now.
Thank you, Michael. If we take that down, we'll get questions from council, I think. If we can get that screen down. And
oh yeah, sure. Sorry. There you go.
Thank you. So, okay, who would like to start? Questions from council, comments from council? Deputy Mayor Canellison first.
Thank you, Mayor Robb. I have a couple of questions. My first question is, in terms of quality control of the sub-trades, who will ensure that the quality meets the standards and expectations of the municipality?
Well, we have a extensive specification from all the disciplines that are dealing with the building that come along with the construction documents, and they're the basis of the quality control for the design. And the general contractor would, supervise their sub-trades, and they would have control over the quality. Of course, we would do our monthly site visits to make sure all the drawings the building is going up as per the documents.
So in the event that there are some concerns with the quality, would the municipality then contact yourself to come and do an inspection to meet with the contractor?
That's usually the process we go through, yes. And we'd come on, but we'd get on site. We usually do a monthly site review. So that's part of our services.
Okay. And my other question is, what is the time frame to construct this building from beginning to completion?
We had a bit of a delay with respect to the EMS and the redesign to accommodate what their needs were. So we're shooting to be done now, but so we're just developing a schedule now, and we have a meeting with planning and officials with respect to rezoning the parts of the property and making sure that we have services, et cetera, that there's no issue with them. I'm waiting to hear back from them next week, but we're hoping to be done our drawings by beginning of September. So 3.5 months, we think, is a fair amount of time to get everything done, assuming that there's no hiccups, obviously.
Yes, okay, but my question was in time, like the actual time to construct the building.
Okay. So let me see if I have a schedule.
I think typically, while Michael's looking for that schedule, I think typically we've seen these buildings around 9 months, 9-10 months, depending on time of year can really impact that. If we're going over the winter, sometimes that's a little bit longer. Availability of materials and so on. There's lots of factors that come into play here, but typically I think around 9 months, 10 months is something like you'd expect.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So we were looking at around on or about August of 2022, around there.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what I have now. You're going to go through that schedule and vet it through all the consultants in town, obviously, as well.
All right. Thank you very much.
Other questions from council? Questions, comments? Councillor Hemming. Councillor Hemming?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. To Michael, maybe. One of my big concerns is, like, with the availability of supply and demand right now, like you were talking about wood and lumber, but steel is just going through the roof as well right now. I know in my business, we've seen constant increases in steel, and that concerns me about the overall cost, how that's going to affect that. And I know it's something that's out of your control, but hopefully, I don't know if they plan on just coming down or coming back somewhere close to normal or not on the availability and price.
I hope so. I just put a garage on my house and it's crazy expensive. I think steel is metal is more of a strategic industry where it'll, as again, I'm hoping it's staying more stable than wood. There's just so many wild cards with wood right now. We were really humming and hawing over the approach to it. And since we're going with pre-engineered building, it's going to affect both. So, I mean, if we don't have the steel for the pre-eng, we don't have the wood, it's, I don't have no real answer. I'm sorry?
Yeah. It's kind of a domino effect. One affects the other. I get that. Like just today, I got a notification of increase steel increased surcharge about 15%. So
yeah,
just
if I could just jump in there, I was talking with a contractor just the other day, like a week ago, who specializes in these pre-eng buildings, but also does custom wood frame buildings as well. And we were talking about sort of a larger space, almost warehouse type building, if you will. And you know, the concern about steel going up so much and the cost of the pre-eng up, 30% from where it would have been 2 years ago. And it's, are we doing this the right way? Is this still the best way to go? And he laughed and he said, well, if you think what steel's gone up, try wood. And it's just so much more economical to go with these steel pre-eng buildings, even now with COVID pricing. So I'm pretty confident that Michael and his team are going down the right road with that approach to get you the best economy that we can for the building. And, it's just, we've all heard it before. We just have to hope that when we go for tender that we're hitting the market at a better time than we would be if we were tendering right now.
Yeah, just to reinforce that point, for instance, all the insulated, the metal doors, insulation that goes in those doors, that's made in Texas. The simple thing is a power failure that happened a few months ago. It put out masonite doors. You could not get a masonite door in North America. 80% of the masonite insulation in those doors, it comes from one plant that shut down. And it's one of those things. So hopefully everything goes up smoothly.
Councillor Hemming, a follow-up?
Yeah, just follow. I do agree with you guys, though. I think steel is the best way to go. So just my opinion. So, thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Other questions, comments from council? Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. So I think at this point, we're just more looking for the acceptance of this conceptual drawing versus, pulling the trigger and say we're doing this. So that's the key for tonight.
Okay. All right, thank you. Other comments? Questions from council? Hearing none. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It was a good presentation, and Greg did get the paperwork out to us ahead of this, so everybody had a chance to see the presentation and see the drawings. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been great to work with Greg and Jonathan and your whole team. So we've really enjoyed this so far, and try to keep going successfully and get you a great product at the end of the day.
Good to hear. Thank you, John. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
So having seen that, our next, is there more discussion from council on this? Is there any further discussion on this right at this time? I mean, we're looking for, do you like the drawings? I mean, we're looking for, we need to go forward with this. Comments or Councillor Moyer? Councillor Moyer? Oh,
yes, we did have some good with the drawings. We did have some concern. We did have some concerns over the costing. Of course, it wasn't a lot of it's not broke down, which was explained tonight. That will get refined as process goes on. And we had talked about just some of the same issues, whether this is a project that once we get the final budget in, whether this is something that, because of the times, whether it gets delayed a little bit and hopefully we get better pricing down the road, And we'd asked Jonathan to just if we could have a breakout of the EMS so we actually know what the municipality, it's costing municipality for the fire hall, and then the EMS station, and what kind of recovery we're going to have on that from the rental agreement that we have with the county on that.
Okay. Jonathan, you had your hand up to comment.
I'll jump off Councillor Moyer's comment there. Yeah, it is some direction that came from the fire committee to look into that. But right now we need to get past or get into detailed design so I can properly get that information for you. Again, it just would be a rough estimate right now. We've had a very improved discussion with EMS and figuring out where their checks and balances are, and COVID changed some of their floor plans. So we do have an open rapport with them, and I will be circling back to them once we get past detailed design to engage that conversation on the repayment option in terms of when that will come in and how long that will be considered for. And kind of piggybacking off of the chair of the fire committee, Councillor Keogh, today is just putting some information out to you guys, let you know what's going on, make sure that you guys are kept in the loop. And that you're aware that more information to come. It's simply not going to be, here we are at the final mile, award the tender. We want to make sure you guys are engaged through the process. So that's really what the takeaway today is just a presentation assessment of where we're at, and understanding that more information will definitely come to this council.
So if I got this right, then we're going to carry on with this design unless we hear something different from council tonight.
Yes, and Greg, Chief, has done amazing work in getting the information out to you in the last couple of weeks to make sure you guys are informed. We've opened the invitation to have information received back to us, and we haven't really had anything to date that we haven't been able to talk out at the fire committee, build committee level. So we've been able to get a lot of the nuances done. The next iteration of some of the detailed design will give us a little bit more flexibility in terms of the budget and the estimate process, where we can start asking those harder questions, which I think Councillor Moore is alluding to, is that where's our priority? Are we willing to risk the market? Are we willing to take it on right now in light of the schedule that EMS also has to relocate out of their former building? So that'll all be coming to light in the next couple of months. But again, we want to be able to give you an even playing field with our large capital projects similar to the water tower. We are going to have another presentation like this with the wastewater treatment plant for Park Hill. And again, it's just some information for council to digest.
So, okay, so we're all good with, everybody likes this design. I mean, this is our opportunity if we have an issue with that. Okay, that's what I was getting at, because we want to make sure that we're going forward with the process so that we can get to that final mile and make our decisions and do the right things that we can. Okay, I guess that's your answer. They like the design. I'm not hearing anything away from it. So carry on. We're going in the right direction. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. We'll move on then to department reports. And our first one is Craigwell Gardens Site Plan Agreement and Drawings, Economic Development and Community Services Manager.
Through your worship to members of council, long awaited. We were asking for this quite a while ago, but we do finally have a site plan for the work to be done at Craigwell Gardens. We're just looking for approval. The site plan drawing was attached, and not sure I'll be able to answer too much questions about the build itself, but the agreement has come forward. Just one matter that we have to clear up, and we're ready to execute the agreement from our end. Just as an aside, I know they have started, Arnie Marsman through Middlesex Center has started reviewing the drawings from a building permit standpoint in conjunction while we were getting the site plan finished. So yeah, we're just looking to move forward on that and execute the site plan agreement.
So I will ask this, do we have any idea on a timeline when they're hoping to actually to start moving on this project? Jonathan?
And Mike, speak up here if I'm missing anything. Through the mayor, we're unaware of that right now. The biggest in terms of schedule, the biggest thing that this organization wanted to do was make sure that we weren't the roadblock to their success for their funding or for their building. And I'm including funding with the community outreach that they've done, and then the funding at the provincial level as well. It's a unique relationship at the provincial level, but we wanted to make sure we weren't the ones standing in the way. So we've put a lot of time into this. Again, Mike has worked a lot in managing this file to make sure all the parties come together. And we're finally getting through those stretches. You know, even the example that Mike is using in terms of the building department looking at the permit beforehand, that is uncommon in these scenarios, but considering the reconstruction footprint that the site plan is proposing, the sensitivity of the file, we pulled it ahead so that we could make sure, again, we're not the one holding them back. There's no surprises. You know, and making sure that we're moving this file ahead appropriately. But to answer your question, we don't know their true timeline yet. But I would imagine that, you know, we'll have some open dialogue with them administratively in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it would be nice if we get some kind of an idea from them at some point here in the near future. I know there's a lot of people hoping and waiting for it. So thank you very much. Is there any questions on this from council? No questions? All right, so we're going to be looking at this under the bylaw later on in the meeting. All right. So we do have Coronation Park splash pad tender results, and Brandon, go ahead.
Mayor Robb, members of council, the report in front of you is the splash pad tender results, which closed last Monday. We had 5 companies submit bids. All 5 were pretty good companies. All 5 came in under our budgeted amount of $200,000. The designs varied in features significantly. What was looked at for price was basically evaluating how much of a budget we would get in features. We also looked at the companies themselves, their portfolios, the proposal itself, how the design fits in the landscape of Coronation Park, being it's more of a traditional style park. This was rated by myself, Mike Barnier, and Jonathan Lampman, and we took the average of the 3 scores to determine who won the tender. So the recommendation is to award the tender to Open Space Solutions, Inc. for a price of $194,367. From this step, we will take a meeting with the Recreation Committee and the head of the head of Open Space Recreation, and we will go through to the design, go through the features. If that's what the committee's wishes, they're okay with it, we will proceed. If there's changes they want to see, there's a breakdown of feature costs. We can sub out one feature, put in a couple others. Perhaps they'd like to see different colors, that kind of thing. That will be up to the committee. And ultimately, when the committee says we are happy with it, we will proceed, unless they've added features that brings it above budget, in which case it will have to come back to council. But as long as it remains under budget, we will proceed. And I think the schedule had end of July completion date. So it will be done this summer.
Okay. Thanks, Brandon. Questions from council? Councilor Moyer.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Brandon, that is Open Space. Is that the same company that did our splash pad in Elsie Craig?
It is.
It is. So we're familiar with their work.
Yeah, and they come recommended from our neighbors in Middlesex Center and Lambton Shores as well. They've the Thedford splash pad and the Kamoka Park splash pad.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have that drawing to put up?
Yeah, Mike, if you want to share that.
All right, we'll put that drawing up and have a look at it. That way it's. Brandon, is this going to be on the same footprint as what's there now?
It is. So they are going to use the same infrastructure that exists as far as drainage goes, water in,
Okay.
The vault that's currently there, they will actually use as the foundation for the new vault. Basically, the footprint just kind of expands on what was there. So we're going from 1,400 square feet to about 2,600 square feet, which should allow many more children to play in the community as opposed to what can currently be held there now.
But it won't have a rubber mat, correct? It would be a,
It will just be straight concrete. The rubber surface is actually something that's fairly unique to Park Hill. Through various contractors, they say about 20 out of every 21 go concrete. I think 19 out of 20, I should say, but the rubber is no longer common. It's more maintenance, more of a slip hazard than concrete itself. So.
okay. All right. Thank you. All right. If you could take the screen down, I think now, and then we'll get any other questions from council. Once we take that down. Okay, questions from council. No, Councillor Hemming.
Yeah, Brandon, this is not a recirc. This is not where we recirculate it and filter the water and stuff, right?
No, that is correct. This is a direct flow system, so the water will flow right back out. After evaluating the costs, I think the committee came to the consensus of not doing recirc based on you have staff who need to monitor it, much like a pool. You also have chemicals to treat it, and the overall cost of that much outweighs the cost of the water itself. Almost, I think I priced it out as $28,000 a year with staffing costs alone, and you're still having to flush 20% down, 20% new water in every hour. So ultimately,
yeah,
the water flow through is much cheaper. So.
No, exactly. I agree. I want to make sure everybody else knew that. Thank you.
You're on a timer, right? Like the one in Else Craig is they got to hit a button actually, and then it's on a timer, correct?
Correct. And the whole system is controllable. We can set it up so that only so many features go, and the length of time can be either 6 minutes, it could be 3 minutes. That's all customizable to us. Staff will be trained on it so that anyone can modify it. If we're finding that it's too long of a cycle and kids are hitting the button and walking away, we can shorten it to conserve.
Okay. Other questions from council? No other questions? So we do have a recommendation in front of us. What's council's wish? Councillor McClinchy. You're moving to go forward? Okay, let's move to go forward with the project. Seconded by Councillor Hemming. In favor? In favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Brandon. Okay, sorry, you're up again. Ken Vernon Playground Equipment Decommissioning. This is not a good news story.
No, this is not a good news story. So Mayor Rock, members of council, this report is with regards to the Ken Vernon Park Playground. That playground was actually originally Coronation's playground back in 1988. It was installed, and in 2007, when they updated it, that got moved to West Williams out to the Ken Vernon Playground. In last year, we actually had a staff get certified to become an official playground inspector. So this spring, when he was doing his inspections, he came across multiple areas of the playground that are deemed unsafe for use. Jerry Waters is our playground inspector. So his recommendation was that the playground be decommissioned. I went through it with him after, looked through things. As you can see in the pictures, there's multiple deficiencies. And so ultimately it leaves us with a few options, obviously for council's consideration. We can leave the playground as is and reevaluate it in the future. That obviously leaves us open to a great deal of liability should the equipment fail or someone get hurt. We can also keep the playground closed, keep it snow fenced off, and report back with the cost of repairing that playground or replacing the equipment. In order to do that, we would need a third party to come out and some of the features have actually been modified by staff in the past in 2007 when it went there. As you can see, the twisty slide, one of the pictures in the report there was actually staff created steps to it because the old steps had rusted through. So they created it out of lumber. So trying to have a third party come in to actually repair the equipment and take the liability from us is unlikely, but they may in fact take that on. And then the third option would be just to decommission the playground and remove it from the premise, which is what staff's recommendation is.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. Questions, comments from council? Councillor McClinchy and then Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Is there this year, is there anything scheduled for any type of activity that's going to be held at West Williams Park that would involve with the playground equipment, or is there, or do you know?
So through Mayor Ropp to Councillor McClinchy, this year, typically we would have the Canada Day celebration, which is the big one out there, which has been canceled for this year, unfortunately. Otherwise, it's just if we rent the pavilion out there for family reunion, family barbecues, that's when it would typically get used. In the current climate we are in, we haven't experienced any of those rentals for quite some time. So if I was to hazard a guess, I would say that we would probably not see any rentals out there this year.
Sure. Okay.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I believe Councillor McClinchy may have pretty much touched on my question, which is, and even prior to COVID or the pandemic, Brandon, how much use does that playground actually get? Because soccer doesn't take place out there anymore, does it?
No, that is correct. We haven't had soccer there in 3 seasons now. Again, it would be, I would hazard to guess 20 rentals a year maybe, and it would be those rentals who would maybe have their kids out playing on the playground. In comparison to our other 5 playgrounds, it would be by far the least used.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from council, comments? No other questions? Okay, Councilor Hemming?
Yeah, I think it's got to come down just as a liability issue thing, but can we revisit later and maybe if we decide to maybe put something back in, you know, when times get turned around here a bit? Okay, that's what I'd like to see anyway.
And I will just make one point further that I am planning to take something to the Recreation Committee where we look at our outdoor recreation equipment, whether it be playgrounds, skate parks, splash pads, and how often we want to actually see these structures replaced. Obviously, sometimes we get that to the end of the life cycle, like the current one has met, but a lot of times we end up replacing them before that, and hoping to come to a policy of some sort that says whether it be every 10 years we are replacing playground equipment at these 3 heavily used locations and every 20 years at these less frequented locations, and trying to establish a policy where we can take one to the other type of deal as we've done in the past.
Any other questions, comments from council? We have a recommendation. The recommendation is to remove that equipment at this time and then to look at this in the future at that park of usage. Councillor Keogh, you make that motion? Seconded by Councillor Nickel. Any other discussion on it? In favor of that? In favor, carried. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
So we do have update community safety plan, and that is Jonathan Graham.
Through the mayor, the report in front of you is the update to the Community Safety and Policing Act. And the recommendation before you is very similar to the one that we considered previously, is that council receive the updated Community Safety and Policing Act report as information. And I'll go through why this is only an information in a moment. Just a quick background, this report is intended to provide council with an overview of the consultation that has been underway by the Ministry of the Solicitor General's Office in regard to the Community and Safety Policing Act with the force and policing of the OPP. Many stakeholder groups have been held at the provincial level, and locally we've been engaged with our OPP dispatch office and our local CAOs. Once this is enforced, this new policy, the CSPA 2019 will replace the Policing Service Act. And there's approximately 50 to 70 matters of regulation that will be developed to bring to in line with the new policy framework. The ministry is targeting this to be enforced in this year. The only reason I bring that up is because there's going to be extensive training results for the people who are on this board. We currently do not have a board in place. We've received policing services from the OPP under Section 5 of the Policing Service Act. Again, that's going to be changed to this act, which means that there's no contractual agreement in place, and therefore no police service board is required. So we're going to be in a position that we're going to have an appointee and have a board committee structure, which will require training and financial contribution from the municipality. Locally, and what is most recent to this report, you did see a framework for the tabled structure, but please note at this point of writing this report, the First Nation communities identified in our local dispatch area are still having an ongoing dialogue with the OPP, where the local CAOs are also involved in this discussion, but tentatively we have agreed to this structure. And I would also ask you to note that above the proposal for the membership locally to the municipalities and the First Nation, there's the appointee of a balance of 20% community representation and 20% provincial representation, which could be from the Office of the Solicitor Generals or an OPP officer locally assigned to this board. So that being said, the deadline for submission is June 7th. And the reason why this is only information and receive and file for council is that we're just tipping our hat to indicate to the ministry that this is the proposal of the structure of the board. There's many things that need to be still developed through this year, terms of reference, who houses the committee, who houses the board, and another report to council will be coming in terms of the appointee, the structure, the terms of reference, and we'll be able to appoint at that time. So today is just another bring it up to council to make sure that they're aware. We can change our intent through the June 7th discussion with the ministry. So if it doesn't work for North Middlesex or it doesn't work for one of our other parties that are involved, we still have the flexibility to change the structure. This is just engaging the ministry at this time. Is there any questions?
Questions from council? No questions from council? I guess you explained it really well, Jonathan. Right now, that's just for information purposes.
That's correct.
Okay, so no questions from council on that? All right, so let's move on to passing of accounts.
Oh, actually, Mayor Rob, can we just
Sorry,
get a
go ahead.
motion to accept that report?
Just, you need a motion to accept the report? All right,
Yeah.
motion. Councillor McClinchy and Councillor Nickel. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jackie. Accounts to pay our bills from April 30th to May 13th, 2021 in the amount of $460,364.58. Is that really just for 2 weeks? Is that from May 30th to, or from April 30th to May 13th?
That's correct.
Okay.
So through the worship, I'm going to go a little slower because I'm getting some feedback I might be chopping up.
Yep.
So the recommendation before you is that council receive and approve the following bills and accounts payable in the amount of $460,364.58. Through the last discussion, Councillor Keogh had identified that he'd like to see just a little bit of a line or more information in terms of the Valley progress claims. So staff has added that in there. So I'd open the floor for any questions.
Questions from council on the account. Deputy Mayor Canellis and then Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jonathan, my question is related to the Asaba Bayfield. there's an amount in there for project levy. I believe it's 79,000 and some odd dollars. But that must include a general levy as well, does it? Because we don't have any significant projects this year, do we? With the Asaba Bayfield?
Through your worship, and I will confirm with them, but traditionally we have some improvements localized to the Park Hill Dam that may be included on this one. So I will try to pull that right now.
Okay, but my understanding was that was a smaller amount, that it was part of the WECI proposal.
I will have to get more information for council.
Okay.
It's a generic line item, so I will reach out and get more information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jonathan, I have to apologize. I wasn't able to give you a call today to have you prepared for this. The zero-turn lawnmower that was purchased at Hyde Park Equipment for the sum of $22,939. I know at the budget level, we had approved a $32,000 one. Is this the purchase of the lawnmower that was supposed to be $32,000, or is this something unrelated? And I don't want to put you on the spot because I know you may not have the information in front of you, but it's just a question I have to raise.
Your worship, Brandon actually stayed on the call, so this is perfect timing.
Okay.
I'll take that. So through Mayor Ropp to Councillor Keogh, it is the same lawnmower. When I had budgeted for the lawnmower, I actually had budgeted for the ZD 1500 from Kubota.
Okay.
And the equivalent of the John Deere was also in the 30 range. And when asking for quotes, they actually discontinued the model this year due to the fuel particulate burn off over 30 horsepower. There's different regulations. So they actually pulled that more altogether and just started selling the 1200. After talking thoroughly through that, the smaller engine seems to do the job quite well. So we actually ended up saving money going that route.
Okay, thank you.
So that is the more that you were going to, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on the accounts? No other questions? We need a motion to pay our accounts. Councillor Hemming, Councillor Keogh, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Committee reports. Lake Huron Pipeline. Nothing. The steering committee. John Lampman is, where's John?
John, through your worship, he's actually dropped off the call. So
okay.
Okay. I can provide the summary that I got from him today, or if you want to provide a summary being on the meeting.
You go ahead.
So the steering committee for the restructuring for the Lake Huron and Elgin Water primary supply, and again, this came through our infrastructure manager today, so I wasn't in attendance. Today was just a framework discussion in terms of scheduling and how long some of these issues will have to, or how they're going to move forward. Again, coming from Jonathan, he had 8 identified actionable items will need to be addressed for this board restructuring. And it looks like it could take up to a possibility of a year or 2 years to get through all the nuances of this negotiation. So it's still proceeding. It's still something that we're going to have to keep a tab on, but basically they've set the framework that they'd like to have this wrapped up in 2 years or less, if possible.
It moves the speed of snail. Oops, I lost everybody. There we go. ABCA.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Mayor Ropp, that the Mystery Falls matter will be on the board of directors meeting with the Asaba Bayfield tomorrow. And I believe that our CAO will be attending as well.
Okay, perfect. Blue Water Recycling, nothing there. EDAC Committee, Councillor Moyer, anything on economic development? Local School Advisory. The Rec Committee, I think we've heard a pretty good rundown from Brandon already on what you've been working on through your reports. Wastewater, nothing there. Committee. Policy Review Committee.
We have a meeting tomorrow at 3.
Tomorrow at 3?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yes, because there's a tender opening at 2 o'clock. Okay. thank you.
Correct.
Fire committee?
Just the minutes from our previous meeting in February.
Okay, thank you. The Aqua Client Advisory Board, anything, Jonathan?
We have our next scheduled meeting at the end of June.
Okay. So correspondence, all we have is the Middlesex London Board of Health. Any comments on that? No? Other or urgent business? Just on other business, I will mention, I don't know who all was on the Zoom meeting today about the Blacks Bridge, the public presentation for the Blacks Bridge. And they did present the options, but the preferred option that the county is looking at is replacing it with a new bridge, a new 2-lane bridge. And so they're going through that process, but unfortunately, it's a long process, longer than what we'd like it to be, but that's just the way it is. And so, but they are recommending that, and they're going with that intent to do a full replacement on the bridge. And so they're waiting for more public comment after that as well. Any other business? No other business this evening? Councillor Hemming?
Yeah, maybe this is for Jackie. Jackie, did you satisfy the inquiries from regarding the 911 things? I seen you sent a reply. The rural, there was somebody who was wanting the 911 numbers on all farms, whether it had a house or a laneway on it or not. They're looking for that.
So the response was to that I mean, if there is a landowner that's requesting an entrance and 911 sign that the municipality has and can accommodate those types of requests, so they need to contact the municipal office, which would then go through our public works manager.
Oh, so each it has to be a request from the landowner themselves.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's good. And then there was one other thing too. I had some people out in Hungry Hollow here. They wanted to know if they could get a people walking sign where they have the community mailbox in Hungry Hollow at the where is it? Yeah, at the community mailbox, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if that's something we do, is put signs up warning people that people could be vehicles that they could be crossing. And also another one where you turn off at the bridge, they were wondering if something could go there. They're trying to just slow down the traffic that goes through there. Everybody picks up or is coming in fast. So I don't know if that's something we can do or not.
Jonathan, do you have a?
Through your worship, I'll reach out to our public works manager and we'll look into it.
Okay, yep, thank you. The sign is out there. Thank you very much. The speed thing. I'm glad they're glad to see that. Okay.
I think that if I remember right, we actually had approved 2 of those signs at that time. Do you remember when we first got that one? We did approve buying 2 of them, and Brad's looking into that now to have 2. Yeah. Because to be perfectly honest, I'm getting quite a few complaints. You know how many transports come through Elsa Craig? Well, right now there's about 10 gravel trucks for every transport. That's how many gravel trucks are running, and they're coming through pretty hot. And Brad has, I want to thank Brad because he's reached out to a couple of the companies to talk to them about asking their drivers to slow down a little bit coming into our towns, our built up areas. I want to thank Brad, reach out to Brad for that, because that is just the way it's going. Jonathan?
Through the mayor, I can also offer that we are going to be purchasing a second sign. They're a little back ordered right now. We are going to be looking for a permanent fixture one. As you recall, when we first started implementing the one sign, we did in fact budget for 2. But at that time, we wanted to see how it was received in the community. Now we know it's established, it works. So the permanent sign will be something that we affix in Elsie Craig, because that seems to be the hot topic one. And then the other one on the trailer is going to be the rotating one where we move intermittently throughout the season.
Just a comment, if I can, to that, Jonathan. I see those ones in London, permanent ones, and they're way up on a pole. And I just happened to notice it because they do not stand out like that trailer does. That trailer's out there, and I know it costs a little more money, But you sure notice that one that's on the trailer a lot more than you do those permanent.
I will speak to the public work to Brad about it, but it's just it's even if you go as far as you remove the trailer, it only becomes a matter of time before people come accustomed to it and they just completely forget it.
Well, that's what I mean about a permanent one. It sits there and you forget about it. So it's just a thought. That's just a thought.
But in contrast, Elsie Craig, as you're well aware, Mayor Ropp, is one of the worst spots coming in west to the town. So we've had through this council and even through resident discussion, there is a significant difference when that speed sign is up over there in terms of pushing people down. And I think it's warranted that we put something up permanently. I can fully respect that, a trailer would be nice because it stands out a little bit more. So maybe it's getting a bigger sign or a better fixture sign that stands out a little bit brighter. There's also, since we purchased that speed device sign of where we are today, there's been subtle changes in the way that they're done. Some of them have the flashing light option where you can engage that. So it's not just a blanket that this is your speed. So there's other options we can look into. So I'll explore those with our operations manager in the morning.
It is nice to be able to move it around too. That was my only thing. It is nice to be able to take it because it has gone out to McGilvery as well, I believe, out on where did it go? I forget where they put it in McGilvery, close to the school and stuff, just to slow traffic down there as well. So it is nice to be able to move these things around. So
it's certainly been everywhere. It's even been in the Park Hill Fair for the snowmobile races. So
yeah, but it's just okay. All right, thank you. Any other business? No other business at this time. All right, deferred items. I just want to remind everybody that the review of the water budget after the second billing cycle, we'll have a meeting after that. It'll probably be a council meeting, an open council meeting, of course, on its own, like where we just deal with that. It'll probably be a separate meeting. And I won't put a date on it this time or not. I just want to remind council when people ask me about this, that has already been in the works, that we're dealing with that then. And the other deferred item is the Mystery Falls that you're dealing with. You're going to work on tomorrow at ABCA, but that has been that became a very hot topic again this weekend.
It
did, and it's a tough one.
And through the mayor, if I can offer anything else to this council for consideration, although it'd be relatively quick to have it turn around at June 2nd to address the deferred item, it's June 2nd, it'll probably be pushed back further because obviously there's been momentum on the ABCA level and the OPP to have an open dialogue. So we would really like to frame what'll happen next before we fully address that, but it will be coming back to council.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to bring that out to the rest of all of council and hearing about some of this. And it is definitely a hot topic for the people who live there. And we want to make sure we do everything we can on it. So. All right, communications, county council, Adrian.
Yeah, I guess county council was relatively brief this past week. However, there was some interesting items that were shared by the Director of Social Services. She discussed the grants that the county's received to support homelessness and rent support and utility support for the residents of our county. Also, the county did give final approval to the Garden Suite, the Petty and Fletcher Street, the council approved a while back. And last, the Ward's Golf Tournament has been rescheduled to September 16th, pandemic permitting.
Any questions for county at this time? No questions for county? All right, reading of the bylaws.
The first bylaw is the Thompson Drain Extension 2020. That's for third and final reading. Bylaw 45 is to adopt community improvement plan. Bylaw 48 is to authorize the execution of the site plan agreement for Craigwell Gardens. Bylaw 49 is a drain repair cost collection bylaw. Bylaw 50 is to authorize the execution of the lease agreement with Dr. Olmsted. And bylaw 51 is the confirming bylaw. So first and second reading is for bylaw 45, 48 to 51.
first and second. Councillor McClinchy, Councillor Moyer, all in favor? Carried.
And third and final is for all listed bylaws.
Third and final. Councillor Hemming, Deputy Mayor Canellison, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have no closed meeting. So at this time, just move to adjourn. Councillor McClinchy and Councillor Keogh, all in favor? Carried.